I was standing in my kitchen making coffee when my phone rang. A known number. I almost didn't answer. Is this the owner of 4712 Weston Drive? I set the mug down. Yes. Who is this? My name is Daniel Marsh. I'm a prospective buyer. Your realtor scheduled a showing for me this Saturday at p.m. I just wanted to confirm the property would be vacant. I didn't say anything. For a full 3 seconds, my house wasn't for sale. It had never been listed. I hadn't spoken to a realtor in for years. Sir, I said slowly, can you tell me the name of the realtor who contacted you? He shuffled some papers. Brill Harper. Harper Luxury Homes. My stomach dropped so hard I had to grab the counter. Brill Harper. My sister Camille's best friend. Her business partner. The woman who had been in my home for Thanksgiving dinner 8 months ago. Sir, I said carefully, I need you to do me a favor. Don't cancel that appointment. Let me back up. Because what happened over the next 3 weeks was something I never could have predicted. Not even close. My name is Marcus. I'm 38 years old. I work in commercial logistics consulting and I've been quietly building a real estate portfolio since I was 29. I own 3 properties. My primary residence, downtown, a duplex I rent out on the east side, and 4712 Weston Drive, a 4-bedroom craftsman. In one of the fastest appreciating neighborhoods in the city. I bought Weston Drive 6 years ago for $310,000, according to the last appraisal I ordered 8 months ago. It was worth $890,000. I didn't live there. I had a property manager named Gloria Reyes who handled everything: tenant screening, maintenance calls, lease renewals, the works, for 5 years. Gloria had been the most reliable person in my financial life. She sent me monthly reports. She called me for anything over $500. She had never once given me a reason to question her. The tenant at Weston Drive was a quiet, professional man named Paul Hutchins. He'd been there 3 years. Paid on time every single month. Never complained unless something was actually broken. As far as I knew, everything at that property was fine. As far as I knew. Here's what I didn't know yet. Paul had given notice 2 months earlier, and nobody had told me. I called Gloria immediately after hanging up with Daniel Marsh. Voicemail. I texted her, call me, urgent. She called back 14 minutes later. And the moment I heard her voice, I knew something was wrong. She sounded rehearsed. Marcus, hey, I was just about to reach out to you actually. Gloria, why is a realtor scheduling showings at Weston Drive? Silence. 2 seconds. 3. I can explain that. We've been exploring some options. Gloria, the property isn't listed. Well, that's the thing. There's been an interested buyer and stop. I said it calmly. Paul Hutchins. Is he still in the property? Another pause. He gave notice about 8 weeks ago. He's out as of last Friday. 8 weeks ago. Paul had given notice 8 weeks ago and nobody had called me. Why? I said very slowly. Am I only hearing this now? I was handling the transition. I didn't want to bother you with Gloria. You work for me. An empty house is literally the one thing you're supposed to call me about immediately. She went quiet, and in that quiet, something cold moved through my chest, because I realized I hadn't checked my bank account lately. I pulled it up while she was still on the line. Paul's rent, $2,400 a month, had been deposited as usual in November, December, January, February, March. Nothing. It was March 19th. Gloria, where is March's rent deposit? He moved out. Marcus, there's no tenant. Then why did a deposit come through in February if he'd already given notice? Silence again. Longer this time. I'll look into that and get back to you. She hung up before I could say another word. I sat there in my kitchen, coffee completely forgotten, staring at my phone. Something was wrong. Something was very, very wrong. And somehow, my sister's best friend was scheduling buyers to walk through my empty house. I called my sister Camille that evening. We had a decent relationship. Not close, but civil. She was 3 years older than me, worked in real estate marketing. and had always treated my investment properties like a fun topic at family dinners, something she was adjacent to but not quite part of. She picked up on the second ring. Marcus, what's up? Hey Camille. Random question. Have you talked to Brielle recently? A half-second beat. Almost nothing. Almost, Brielle? Yeah. We talk all the time. Why? She's been showing one of my properties. I'm just trying to figure out how that got set up. Camille laughed. And here's the thing about that laugh, it was a beat too late. A half-second delayed. Like she'd decided to laugh rather than just laughed. Oh, she probably just got a lead and reached out to Gloria. You know how she is. Always hustling. I'm sure she was going to loop you in. Loop me in. My house. My property. And Brielle Harper was going to loop me in. Did you tell Brielle about Weston Drive? I asked. About Paul leaving? Marcus, I might have mentioned it in passing. She's always looking for inventory. I didn't think it was a big deal. I kept my voice even. Cool. Thanks, Camille. I hung up, sat very still, then I opened my laptop and searched Brielle Harper Luxury Homes active listings, and there it was, 4712, Weston Drive, listed at 8750. Photos of the interior, professional photography, a virtual tour, a listing that had been active for 11 days. My house, listed without my knowledge, without my signature, without my consent. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I made a list, every question that didn't have an answer. How had Brielle gotten access to the property for photography? Why had Gloria concealed Paul's notice for 8 weeks? Where had February's rent deposit actually come from if Paul had already given notice? Who had signed the listing agreement, because someone had to have signed one? I started with the listing. I called the MLS directly the next morning and requested information about the listing agent and the authorized seller. Documentation on file. They couldn't share it over the phone, but they told me how to file a formal documentation request. I filed it. Then I called a real estate attorney named Diane Cho, someone I'd worked with on a commercial deal 2 years before. I explained the situation in 15 minutes. She was quiet for a moment, then she said, Marcus, what you're describing, if accurate, is unauthorized practice. Listing a property without the owner's written consent is a serious violation. It could expose the agent to license suspension or revocation, and if someone forged my signature on a listing agreement, that's fraud. Criminal fraud. I let that sit in the air between us. I need you to help me build a paper trail before I say another word to anyone involved. I said. Smart. She said, don't tip them off. Let me make some calls, while Diane worked her channels. I called someone I'd been putting off, Daniel Marsh, the prospective buyer who had accidentally blown the whole thing open. He picked up. Mr. Marsh, I said, I'm the actual owner of 4712 Weston Drive. I want to be transparent with you. The property is not authorized for sale. But I want to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. He was quiet for a moment. I had a feeling something was off. He said, that surprised me. What do you mean? The realtor was pushy. She kept telling me this was an off-market deal, that the seller was motivated, that we needed to move quickly before it went wide. And when I asked to see the seller's disclosure documents, she said they were being prepared. Off-market deal. Motivated seller. Move quickly. Every phrase was a red flag flying in formation. Mr. Marsh, did she give you a target price? She said the seller was open to offers starting at $810,000. She said with a quick close, they might go as low as $790,000. My house. My $890,000 asset being sold without my knowledge at a $100,000 discount. I thanked Mr. Marsh and asked him to save every email and text from Brielle. He agreed without hesitation. He was angrier about the deception than I expected. That would become important. Later, Diane called me back that afternoon. Okay, I've got some things. She'd spoken to a contact at the State Real Estate Commission. The listing agreement on file had been signed by a Marcus J. Whitfield, my full legal name. But here's what Diane had noticed. Immediately, My middle initial is not J, my middle name is Aaron. I don't have a J in my legal name anywhere. Someone had signed a fraudulent listing agreement using a slightly wrong version of my name, likely betting that no one would check closely. They made a mistake, Diane said. A stupid one. But Marcus, that's not all. I leaned forward. Gloria Reyes filed a change of management notification with the county records office 3 weeks ago. She updated the property contact information on file. Updated it to what? A P.O. box registered to a business called Whole Property Solutions. Harper Luxury Homes. Briel. They were rerouting communications, I said quietly. So if anyone looked up the property or sent mail about it, it would go to them instead of me. That's what it looks like, Diane said. Marcus, this isn't just an authorized listing. This is coordinated. Gloria was in on it. I sat back in my chair. 5 years. Gloria had managed my property for 5 years, and for at least the past 8 weeks. She'd been working with Briel Harper, my sister's best friend, to sell my house out from under me. There's one more thing, Diane said. Her voice had shifted. I want you to look at the commission structure on the listing. I pulled it up on the MLS documentation she'd emailed me. Standard buyer's agent commission. 2.5. Listing agent commission. 2.5. Referral fee to property manager. 1. Gloria gets a cut. I said, 1% of $810,000 is 8,100, Diane said. That's what she was selling 5 years of your trust for. I didn't say anything for a long time, because that's when it finally hit me. Not the betrayal, not the money, but the smallness of it. They had risked felony charges. They had forged my name. They had rerouted my mail. They had hidden an empty property from me for 8 weeks. For 8,100. I spent the next 4 days building the case with Diane. We compiled the signed listing agreement with the wrong middle initial. Gloria's fraudulent county filing rerouting property communications. 11 days of active MLS listing activity without my authorization. Bank records showing the February rent deposit, which, when I dug deeper, turned out to be a payment from an account connected to Whole Property Solutions. They had deposited money into my account to delay suspicion. Screenshots of Daniel Marsh's email thread with Briel, including her phrase, "Seller is motivated to close quickly." Phone records showing 15 calls between Briel and Gloria over the past 6 weeks. Diane submitted the complaint to the State Real Estate Commission on a Thursday. By Friday afternoon, Briel Harper's license had been flagged for investigation. We filed a civil complaint the following Monday. Then Diane did something I hadn't expected. I want to add your sister, Camille. She told you she mentioned the vacancy in passing, but I've been looking at the timeline. Paul gave notice on January 14th. Briel uploaded the listing photographs on January 31st. That's 17 days. For Briel to have arranged professional photography, drafted listing materials, and filed a listing agreement, she had to have known the property was available and move ready almost immediately. I closed my eyes. You think Camille told her right away? I think Camille may have done more than that. I think she may have been part of the referral structure. We won't know until discovery, but I want her name in the filing. I thought about that laugh on the phone. That half-second delayed, decided laugh. Put her in, I said. I called my mother that night. Not to warn Camille. To tell the truth, Mom had always treated Camille like the responsible one. The one who understood money and real estate and the adult world. Me, I was the quiet one. The consultant. The one who did fine but wasn't flashy about it. She didn't know about my portfolio. Nobody in my family did. I'd kept it private deliberately, not out of secrecy, but because I'd learned early that sharing financial details with family creates expectations and resentments in equal measure. Mom, I said, I need to tell you something about Camille and her friend Briel. I laid out the entire thing, every piece of it. My mother was silent for so long I thought the call had dropped. Say something, I said. Marcus. Her voice was very small. How much is that house worth? Appraised at $890,000 in August. Another silence. And they were going to sell it for $790,000 without telling you. Without telling me. Without my signature. With a forged name on the listing agreement. I heard her exhale slowly. "I'll talk to your father," she said. "Mom, I'm not calling you to manage Camille. I'm calling because I want you to know the truth before this becomes public. And it's going to become public. I met Camille for coffee 11 days after I'd filed the complaint. She didn't know I'd filed it yet. The commission investigation was still in its early stages. Brill had been notified, but the full scope hadn't hit the news. I chose a coffee shop near her office. Neutral, public, quiet. She came in smiling, big smile. The one that always looked like armor. "Hey you, what's going on? You've been MIA. Sit down, Camille." Something in my voice made the smile flicker. She sat. I put my phone on the table. Screen up. Unlocked. The MLS listing for 4712 Weston Drive was open, the one that was now flagged with a commission investigation notice. She looked at it. The smile didn't disappear. But it became different. Smaller. "Careful, Marcus, don't." I said it quietly. "I want to give you one chance to tell me the truth." "One. How long did you know about Brill's plan?" She wrapped her hands around her coffee cup. "I didn't know she was going to list it. I swear. I just told her about the vacancy, Camille. Brill had professional photos shot 17 days after Paul gave notice. She had a listing agreement filed with a forged signature. She set up an LLC to intercept my property communications. None of that happens in 17 days without planning." The color moved out of her face slowly, like water draining. "I didn't know she was going to forge anything, but she knew she was going to list it." Silence. That was the answer. "You knew?" I said. "You told her immediately. You might have even helped her structure the referral fee." "I don't know the full extent yet. My attorney is still working through discovery." Her head snapped up. "Attorney? I filed a civil complaint 11 days ago. The Real Estate Commission flagged Brill's license last Friday. She's under investigation." Camille's mouth opened. Nothing came out. "I also want you to understand what this property is worth," I said. "Not what Brill was selling it for. What it's actually worth." I slid a single piece of paper across the table. "The August appraisal, 89000. She stared at it. "The commission structure on Brill's listing gave you a referral credit," I said. "Not Gloria. You." "I found it buried in the co-brokerage agreement. You were set to receive 0.5% of the sale price. That was $4,000 to 450." Her mouth worked. "Marcus, you were going to help sell my $890,000 house without my knowledge for $790,000 and pocket $4,000 in the process." The armor broke. She started crying. Real tears, I think. "Or close enough. I didn't think it would hurt you," she said. "You never even live there. I thought you'd be relieved to have the cash." "It's not your call what relieves me, Camille." I stood up. "My attorney will be in touch. I'd recommend you speak to one." I picked up my phone and walked out. The Real Estate Commission investigation concluded 14 weeks later. Brill Harper's license was suspended. For 18 months, she was required to pay restitution for costs associated with the unauthorized listing. The civil case settled. 8 weeks after that, the settlement was confidential. But I'll say this, the number was significant enough that Diane called it one of the cleaner resolutions she'd seen in a case like this. Gloria Reyes lost her property management license. Her business closed within 2 months of the investigation becoming public. It turned out Weston Drive wasn't the only property she'd been flagged for. 2 other landlords came forward during the investigation with similar complaints. Communications intercepted, vacancies concealed, suspicious activity during tenant transitions. The pattern made everything worse for her legally. And Camille, she wasn't charged criminally. The co-brokerage referral credit wasn't enough to establish criminal conspiracy, at least not at the level the DA wanted to pursue, but she was named in the civil suit. Her name appeared in local real estate news when the story broke. In an industry where reputation is everything, that was its own consequence. She called me 3 months after the coffee shop. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. I listened to it once, then deleted it. I'm not carrying that weight. Now let me tell you what happened to the house. After everything settled, I had Weston Drive professionally staged and properly listed with my signature on every document, with a realtor I found independently. With full disclosure and market pricing. It sold in 9 days. 912. 11 days of an authorized listing and an entire scheme to sell it at a discount, and the moment it went to market legitimately, it sold above appraisal in under 2 weeks. I used part of the proceeds to seed the down payment on a 2-unit commercial property I'd had my eye on for over a year. The rest went into a fund I've been building quietly since my late 20s. Nobody in my family knew I had that fund either. Some things you keep private, not out of shame, out of wisdom. Powerful life lesson ending here is what I've been thinking about ever since. The people who plotted this scheme didn't think I'd notice. That's the part I keep coming back to. They didn't assume the plan would work perfectly. They didn't think I'd be powerless to stop them if I found out. They thought something much more dangerous. They thought I wasn't paying attention. They thought I was the type of person who got quarterly reports and filed them away and assumed everything was fine because nothing had been wrong. Yet, they were counting on my complacency, and for a while, a few months, maybe longer, they were almost right. I hadn't checked the bank account carefully enough to catch the missing March deposit immediately. I hadn't noticed Gloria's pattern of delayed communication. I hadn't set up alerts on my properties. County records filings. The gaps weren't in their scheme. The gaps were in my attention. And that is the lesson I took from all of this. Not to trust less, though I do trust differently. Now, not to isolate myself from family, though those relationships are permanently changed. The real lesson is this: what you own, you must watch, not obsessively, not with paranoia, but actively, consistently, with the kind of steady attention that makes fraud difficult and negligence impossible. Gloria got 8 weeks of silence because I wasn't checking. Brielle got 11 days of active listing because I wasn't watching. The moment I looked, really looked, the whole scheme unraveled in less than a week.